Have you ever felt that gnawing sensation at the end of a long day, a day packed with activity, yet you're left with an unsettling feeling of having accomplished absolutely nothing? It's a common paradox in our modern, hyper-connected world. We often equate busyness with productivity, believing that the more tasks we juggle, the more emails we answer, the more meetings we attend, the more productive we must be. But what if that's a fundamental misunderstanding? What if the very definition of unproductive isn't about a lack of effort, but rather a misdirection of that effort? This isn't about you lacking discipline or drive. It's about a subtle yet profound flaw in how we approach our work, our goals, and ultimately, our sense of achievement. You are not unproductive. You are simply busy in the wrong way. And understanding this distinction is the first step towards reclaiming your time and your sense of purpose. Let's paint a familiar picture. Your alarm rings, perhaps a little too early, and almost instinctively, you reach for your phone. The day begins not with intention, but with reaction. You check notifications, a flurry of emails, social media updates, news headlines. You start replying to messages, each one pulling you into a different context. You might open a document for work, only to be interrupted by a colleague's chat. You switch to another task, then another, perhaps trying to squeeze in some personal study, but your mind is already fragmented. The day unfolds in a series of starts and stops, a constant dance between different demands. You're moving, you're typing, you're talking, you're thinking. The clock ticks, hours melt away, and by the time evening arrives, you're exhausted. Your calendar is full, your inbox is slightly less daunting, but when you reflect, a hollow feeling emerges. You've been doing things all day, constantly engaged, constantly busy, yet at the end, nothing actually feels complete. No major project moved forward significantly, no deep work was truly achieved. And so, the familiar, disheartening whisper begins, "I wasn't productive today." This isn't just a feeling, it's a pattern, a cycle that many of us are trapped in, leading to burnout and a persistent sense of underachievement. But here's the crucial insight. The issue is not your effort. You are clearly putting in the hours, expending mental energy. The real problem lies in how your effort is being used, or rather, misused. Our brains, magnificent as they are, have a peculiar quirk. They often confuse activity with progress. Every small action, every minor engagement, every fleeting interaction feels like movement. Checking an email? That's an action. Starting a new tab for research? That's an action. Switching from one project to another because a new idea popped up? That's an action. It all feels like you're doing something, like you're making headway. But here's the critical distinction. None of it, in isolation, necessarily leads to completion. And without completion, without the tangible act of bringing a task to its conclusion, your brain doesn't register progress. It doesn't get that satisfying dopamine hit that signals job well done. It's like running on a treadmill. You're expending energy, you're moving, but you're not actually getting anywhere. Peter Drucker, the renowned management consultant, once profoundly stated, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." You can be busy all day, meticulously and efficiently performing tasks that contribute little to your overarching goals and still move nowhere. Because productivity is not about how many things you do, or how fast you do them. It is fundamentally about what actually gets finished, what truly reaches a state of completion. At Daily Reset Lab, this channel explores the hidden psychological patterns behind how you think, work, and react under pressure. If this feels familiar, you might also relate to another pattern, struggling to stay consistent even when you start. Watch. Why you can't stay consistent. Now let's go deeper. There's another equally insidious reason this happens, and it's a concept known as task switching. In our multitasking culture, we're often lauded for our ability to juggle multiple responsibilities. However, every single time you switch tasks, From writing a report to answering a text, from a video call to checking social media, your brain doesn't just seamlessly transition, it resets. Think of it like rebooting a computer. Each reboot takes time, consumes energy, and requires reloading all the necessary programs and data. Similarly, when you switch tasks, you lose context. The intricate web of thoughts, ideas, and data related to the previous task dissipates. You lose momentum, that valuable flow state where ideas connect effortlessly and work feels almost effortless. And critically, you start again at a lower level of focus. It takes precious mental energy and time to re-engage, to recall where you left off, to rebuild that cognitive framework. So even though you're technically working, you're constantly restarting, constantly paying a switching cost. This creates a tremendous amount of effort, but with very little actual progress. And over time, your brain learns something dangerous, something that erodes your motivation from within. Working hard doesn't lead to results. That's when motivation drops, not because you're lazy or lack willpower, but because your brain, a highly efficient learning machine, no longer trusts the process. It associates effort with frustration and a lack of tangible outcomes, leading to a vicious cycle of decreased motivation and perceived unproductivity. So, if the problem isn't effort, and it's not about doing more, what is the solution? The solution is not doing more, it is finishing more. This requires a fundamental shift in your approach, a reorientation of your daily questions. Instead of asking yourself, "What should I do next?" a question that often leads to a cascade of fragmented activities, begin to ask, "What will I complete today?" This isn't about tackling 5 major projects. It's about identifying 1, perhaps 2, truly significant tasks that you can bring to a definitive conclusion. Define it clearly, with specificity and a clear endpoint. For instance, don't just say, "study biology." That's too vague, too open-ended, and easily leads to endless browsing. Or if you're working on a creative project, don't just say, "be productive." Instead, commit to complete the first draft of the introduction. When your brain sees something completed, a task definitively checked off, it registers progress. It releases those feel-good chemicals, reinforcing the positive feedback loop between effort and outcome. And progress, even small, consistent progress, is the most powerful builder of momentum. It fuels your motivation for the next day, the next task, the next challenge. Once you've identified that 1 or perhaps 2 critical tasks for completion, the next step is equally vital. Remove everything else. Not permanently, of course, but temporarily for the dedicated period you've allocated to that single task. This means no switching between applications, no checking emails every 5 minutes, no glancing at social media, and crucially, no adding new tasks to your mental queue. Just finish. This practice will feel profoundly uncomfortable at first. Your brain, accustomed to the constant stimulation and variety of modern life, will resist. It will crave novelty. It will present you with 1,000 urgent distractions. That discomfort, that internal friction, is precisely where real productivity begins. It's the signal that you are breaking old, unhelpful habits and forging new, powerful ones. Embrace that discomfort, acknowledge it, but do not succumb to it. Stay focused on that one task until it is unequivocally complete. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. It's about creating a temporary, focused bubble where your energy is channeled entirely towards completion, allowing your brain to experience the profound satisfaction of true progress. So, the next time you feel unproductive, that familiar sense of dissatisfaction creeping in, don't immediately look at how much you did. Don't tally the hours spent or the number of emails sent. Instead, shift your perspective entirely. Look at what you finished. Look at what you brought to a definitive conclusion. Because productivity, true, meaningful productivity, is not merely movement. It is not just activity. It is completion. It is the act of bringing things to their end, one focused task at a time, building momentum and a genuine sense of accomplishment. At Daily Reset Lab, this channel explores the hidden psychological patterns behind modern pressure, productivity, and learning. If this helped you understand your productivity more clearly, follow for more. And if you want to fix the next layer, watch. Why you can't stay consistent.